How are we getting on, folks? Look at Tipperary was a bit of a write-off day once again. Look at we I suppose look at when the nap of the day gets taken out, it immediately puts you on the back foot, and we just didn't get the breaks that we wanted. That's all it was wrong. Um, but look at it's in the past now. We'll move on. I've had a couple of days break to get over it, but Killarney tomorrow and Leopardstown, we will be covering the two. There's some big prices in here. Um, a few double figure prices and all that, and even a 66 to 1 thrown in the middle of it. So make sure to stick around for the whole video, and just so you don't miss out on any big prices. But anyway, we may as well kick things off. The first race between the two is going to be in Leopardstown, so we'll start off with Leopardstown. Realistically, I'd be very thankful for a few places in this, to be quite honest with you. If we could get a few winners, brilliant. If not, I'd be just generally hoping for a few places. But I think overall, look at it's going to be a tricky day in Leopardstown. There's some very good flat racing on there. I wouldn't be going hell for leather in. Let's just say. First race off the 145, clash between Aidan O'Brien and Jim Bulger. And personally, I would be siding with the latter in here. Jim Bulger has Eagle Field for ridden by Kevin Manning, currently priced at 15 to 8. Look, I think the debut run was very impressive. It was look at when you look at it, there, it was the 5th of May. It's recently enough a length and a half behind Texas Moon, ahead of Metaphorical, who's one of the Aidan O'Brien string. If it improves any way, shape, or form on that, I think this lad here should definitely be getting a little bit better. I think the improvement is there, and he does have the capabilities of being a very talented sort. The breeding wise, over 7 furlongs, Glen Eagles and Bratislava. Look, a trip may be, if anything, a little bit short, but in terms of inexperience and all that, I would be hoping that if there is ever a time you want something a little bit fresh, this would probably be the time that the fact that it's bred to appreciate a step up in trip of over 2 furlongs. Maybe being a little bit lit up over 7 mightn't be the worst thing in the world here. Drawn out in stall 11, right beside the favourite here. I just think there's something about the Jim Bulger setup here at the moment that certainly looks to be a nice enough sort. Keep an eye on Dermot Wells' horses in here as well throughout the day. Dermot's starting to get into form now, and he's starting to really get clicking now, especially with these Mindler horses. I just think it's interesting, and it should definitely be well thought of. Now, 2:15 next race off, and we will be going with the Gerald Lyons and Colin Keane duo, parked out in stall 4. Lovely little spot there over the mile, with Maker of Kings at 15 to 2. And I think this one here is definitely well worth an each way. When you look at what it's put up in performance so far, it's since the 3rd of October, especially there, in 2020, it's put up a string of firsts and seconds. Well, it's put up a trio of seconds, but it got its win ahead of Teed Up, Lord Park, Katiba, High Altitude, as well as that. Even say the time before that in June, it was ahead of the likes of Ming Warrior for Michael O'Callaghan and Jungle Cove. Both of those were very well thought of horses. As well as that, it was a few lengths ahead of Mo Salah, another well thought of horse for Henry de Bromhead. But the seconds there behind Theophile, very talented sort for Jim Bulger. Lafayette as well. It was the Lincolnshire, in the Irish Lincolnshire behind Lafayette. And the last day it was, I suppose, a little bit disappointed, but it was only a neck behind, or not even a neck. It was a short head behind Harpocrates. I could be pronouncing that totally wrong, but the horse of Jessica Harrington's. I think if it shows any sort of form like that, it's definitely well worth considering putting it in for an each way spot. Look at it's 15-8 at the end of the day. Could drift out a little bit more, but I think it's definitely going to be thereabouts in the finish. You should definitely be in the top. Let's just say aim for a top 4, top 5 finish, but either way, it's definitely looks to be a great value each way bet. Now moving on then to the 245 and another each way shot in here. Where is it here with the Joseph O'Brien and Declan McDonough team parked in stall 6 over the mile again in a Group 3 contest. Sense of Style currently priced at 7-1. I think it's another value enough each way. When you look at it being very, very closely matched to Fantasy Island now, or Fantasy Lady, who is the second favorite here. It's put up generous form, and it's put in some very, very good runs, in particular when winning in October the 11th in the Curragh, beating the likes of no, it was a short head behind Fantasy Lady that particular day, beating La Jaconde, High Heels, Psychedelic, Allegar, April Showers, etc. But the next day out, it was a winner in Naas when it was ahead of Rosa Woodsy. Friendly as well, another fairly well thought of horse as well. Guliana, etc. We won't go into too much detail, but going back to his last run when it was 66-1 third, and it was only a length behind third that particular day, behind Keeper of Time, Mena, I think it is Mena, Zaffi's Pride, Shale, Joan of Arc, all these horses well thought of. I think it's considerable to think of it as an each way prospect. It should be thereabouts. I think overall, if it's got any sort of capability of progressing on and improving for its run, I think this is the time it's going to do it, and it's drawn in a lovely stall of stall 6. It should be thereabouts and finish. If it breaks well, it's got a handy enough spot to get to a nice bit of a posse, and should definitely be fighting it out in the finish. 315, what looks to be the main event of the day in Leopardstown. I will be siding with Jim Bulger again with Max Swinney. Currently priced at 2-1. This one here is going to be my nap of the day. I am a massive fan of Max Swinney, and I think overall his capabilities outshine this Bolshoi Ballet. I know Bolshoi Ballet was a very, very impressive sort over course and distance last time out, but it still needs to improve to produce what Max Swinney has done. I know Max Swinney is more, well, it's shown its true colors more so on soft to heavy ground. I think it's going to be just as good and just as effective on good ground. I think realistically, it's going to be very, very interesting, and it should be thereabouts in the finish. I think it's going to be a great contest overall, but I just think Jim Bulger has an extra ace up his sleeve with McSwinney tomorrow. 345, and this one here, what have I gone with? I have gone with Aidan O'Brien in this one. Call Me Sweetheart. We're going straight from the nap to the next best in 6-1. I personally think it was a very, very impressive performance on its debut when third in Dundalk in April behind Mayor and Omniat, we're going to call it, ahead of Simply a Dream, Albedo, Citronade, Easily, Female Approach, Starla, etc. I'm not going to run through all these horses, but we all know Aidan O'Brien, generally his rule of thumb is to send them out first time out, little bit unfit, and they generally do come on for the run. I think the money drifting away from it. Doesn't really stand too well with me. I think 6-1 at the moment is definitely an each way price. If you are going to be backing it now, I definitely would be suggesting each way. But I think if there's any horse that's going to come on for the run, generally Aidan O'Brien is thereabouts. He's had an exceptional start to the season, and I think if there's going to be one that's going to be coming on very, very well, it's definitely going to be this Call Me Sweetheart. 4:15, we briefly spoke on the Dermot Wells setup and especially the Maid Lair. We're going to be teaming up with these here now in this one with Federica Sofia. Currently priced at 9-2. I think generally this one here looks to be the class act of the race. I can't see much down the bottom that possibly would give it a good shout. Potentially Magnetic North at 12-1. Trying to see, is there anything else at bigger prices? He Knows No Fear was a course winner, but it looks to be under the cloche of the handicapper. I don't know. I just think, yeah, I think it's Federica Sofia's race to lose really tomorrow, and 9-2 definitely does suggest it. But realistically, we want winners and we want to try and get as many winners as we can. But I think this one here is definitely one of the good ones now for tomorrow. I really, really like its first two performances, and it should definitely take plenty of stopping now tomorrow. 4:45. This one here, we will be going with another 9-2 shot. Put in a very, very impressive performance last time out when it was just nabbed on the line. That was in Limerick that particular day. Macadam's Rock for Gerlines and Colin Keane once again. Currently priced at 9-2, I think is very, very interesting. Look at Soaring Sky. Just got the better of it that particular day. It was ahead of Sassified, Lunar Power, Druk, Iowa, Abstract, Artistic Work, and Pita Pinta. Now this Macadam's Rock meets a few of these in here, in particular the likes of Iowa, Druk. I think that's basically it. Lunar Power, if I'm not mistaken, was one of these as well. That's basically it as far as I know. I could be totally wrong. There might be another one in there. But I just think if there's a horse that's going to probably produce a little bit better, looked like it was going to be going there for the win there that particular day, but just got caught. I think if it holds the same potential, holds the same ability, it's in the box seat, it's in one, it couldn't be in a better spot, and it should take plenty of stopping, providing it does get the break and gets up there at the front and up there at a very nice position. Realistically, we want a nice break. If it doesn't break well, we're in big trouble because, as you know yourself, any of these outside stalls that break well, they all come across and basically shut the door. We want that door to be kept wide open, and we want the break to be absolutely electric for Macadam's Rock now tomorrow. 5:15, last race of the day in Leopardstown, and this one here is going to be the big price. We're going straight down to the bottom of the market here at 66-1 for Seattle Creek for Luke Comer and Nathan Cross claiming £5. I think this one here is a little bit interesting, more so than anything else. When you look at the bloodline, this race is over 1 mile. I think it's 1 mile 4. 1 mile 4 it is. When you look at this lad's bloodline, it speaks very, very highly. It's got group form, group and listed form, group 2 winners over 1 mile, 2 to 2 miles. Ra Atol was a group 2 winner with a rating of 110, half brother to 3 winners, including Medora. Group placed 1 mile 4 at a rating of 98. The dam was an 11.5 furlong winner. So that's 1 mile 3, 1 mile 3, 1 mile 4 in and around that. That's that distance. Sister to 12.5. So that's just over a mile 4. Grade 2 winner Moon Queen out of a 1 mile 4 grade 1 winner. So when you look at that bloodline and when you look at that price, it speaks volumes. The price of the horse was 70,000 guineas yearling, 34,000 as a foal. Make of it what you will. I think if there's any horse at big prices that's going to outrun these sorts of odds, this lad could be it. 66-1 looks to be massive. Nathan Cross claiming £5. It's interesting. Luke Comer likes to get his winners around here, and especially, no, it's not sponsored by the Comers. I was going to say if it was going to be a Comer, if it was going to be a Comer sponsored race, it was definitely going to be very, very interesting. But no, look at Comer has a race over in Germany tomorrow. He sends out, I think, 2 or 3. Want to wish him the very, very best of luck tomorrow. If he's listening, he probably is not. He probably isn't. But look at, we may as well wish him the best of luck anyway. Now moving on to Killarney into the more calmer waters from me. I'm really, really liking today's race, and I think it's got a great overall aspect and great overall competitiveness. There should be about 3 or 4 races in here where 5, 6, or 7 horses are going up to the line. So realistically, it's going to be a flip of a coin tomorrow, but we could be on the right track, and we could be able to get a few winners. Well, hopefully, I would be hoping that we'd get a few winners anyway. 2 o'clock, first race off, and I'm personally not necessarily going to be siding with overall talent. If I was going to be siding with talent, it would be possibly Nakot to back, but I don't know. I don't think that's going to be good enough. It was a very, very nice third last time out, but realistically, it hasn't finished better than third. Well, it finished second on the flat last time out on the 23rd of April, but over hurdles, it can be a bit, I wouldn't say erratic, but it tends to put in a bit of a hasty jump now and then, and realistically in this sort of race, when it's so competitive, it's going to be something you want to try and avoid. I personally really, really like Mr. Tambourine Man at 11-2 for John Halley and Rachel Blackmore. You don't see that combination coming together very, very often, but when they do, they generally do put in a fairly decent performance. Now, coming in here off 11 stone 4, it was a very decent run last time out, when third in Kilbeggan behind the likes of the Cahaldon and the Greek. Now, it was 19 lengths behind them two that particular day, but them two in this particular field would absolutely mow the whole field down. I really do rate the Cahaldon. I think the Greek is a very, very consistent performer, but in terms of capabilities, I think if this horse can show a bit more improvement and show a little bit more, I suppose, willingness to get to the leaders, I think it's definitely going to be a pretty hard horse to stop tomorrow. And with Rachel Blackmore on board, the queen of Irish racing, is definitely very, very interesting, and it should definitely be taken serious notice of. Now, moving on into the 2:30, and I am going to be going with the nap of the day. This one here, I've been a big fan of on the flat, and I was pretty much taken back by on its hurdle debut. Irish Poseidon at 3-1 looks to be realistically the one they all have to beat, and I think the market has it wrong. I think 3-1 is an absolute steal of a price. I think if this horse can improve on that fort, when it was a very, very competitive run that day, I think it was in Leopardstown. It was Leopardstown over Christmas, behind Get My Drift, G-Rex, Micromanage, ahead of Hurricane Glyph, Ideal Pal, Copy of Arboretum, Excelsius, Mighty Megsy, Futurum Regim, Jody Ted, etc. We're not going to be going into too much detail. It was a 20 runner field at the end of the day, but yeah, if it improves any sort on that particular run, it's going to take a fair bit of whacking. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very hard horse to stop, and I think 3-1 is an absolute steal. Now, the 3 o'clock is going to be my patron pick of the day, so we're not going to be covering it. The 3:30. What have I gone with in this one? I have personally gone with a horse down a little bit in the market, a little bit of a big price. I do think Jesse Evans has got the capabilities to win one of these, but I don't think it's going to be particularly this day. I think it's going to be more suited to a bit smaller of a field. But Andrax, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Last time out in Ballinrobe, it gave Zafanian a very, very, very much a lot to do. This one here coming from the Michael McNiff and Jordan Gainford. Again, like I said, with Mr. Tambourine Man coming from John Halley and Rachel Blackmore. Michael McNiff and Jordan Gainford isn't a combination you see too often. But he's claiming £7 for him. I think the second behind Zafanian that particular day. That horse, that Zafanian, is a very, very talented sort. I am fully convinced, had Zafanian not met such trouble in running in Cheltenham, it was definitely a winner in waiting. And I think the fact that it finished so well at such a crucial stage in Cheltenham and then went on to win in Ballinrobe, look, it definitely speaks volumes for me. The fact that Andrex put up such a gallant performance that day in Ballinrobe, I think generally it's definitely well worth an each way. I think 9-1 is overpriced. I wouldn't be giving him that much of a price if he was coming from, let's just say, if I was a bookmaker, I wouldn't be giving him 9-1. I'd be giving him maybe 5 or 4-1. I think Savanian would beat this field fairly comfortably in a race of this nature, but because it's 9-1, I'm going to take it each way, and hopefully it's going to come up with the goods and finish second or possibly even first tomorrow. 4 o'clock looks to be the main event. I would definitely say I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot here, and the fact that Pilbara was taken out potentially is screaming red lights at me to back Pilbara tomorrow. But I think the very man for Denise Foster and Jack Kennedy is the one that they all have to beat at this particular sort of a race. This ground condition, he loves good ground. He's a general consistent performer. He tends to show his best on good ground, I would imagine. I think Pilbara is just a little bit wrong on the weights. I think if I was Emmett Mullins, I would have been sending him straight to Tipperary that day. I think he's got a very, very tough task in his hands. But like I said, I think it's going to be between the top two. But realistically, the classier horse of the two is definitely the very man. And therefore is going to be my next best of the day. I think it's going to take some serious stopping, and 11-8 looks to be value for money. 4:30. This one here is a tricky one. Do you know what? And I'm just going back on form. Millie in the Middle, on his last run in Galway, was third behind Mrs. Milner and Jazzaway. Now, both of those horses since have come out to win. Mrs. Milner won in Cheltenham, and a very, very easy winner in Cheltenham at that. Jazzaway came out to win a very, very good pot in Fairy House. Was it Fairy House or Punchestown? Could have been Punchestown now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm nearly certain it was actually. A very, very competitive pot that particular day. I know we were all on it that day as well, but Millie in the Middle was only 4.5 lengths behind that day. I think if this horse can show its potential over a chasing fence, it looked like it was definitely going to make a fairly decent chaser in time to come. And Millie in the Middle certainly looks to have a fairly nice overall opportunity. Look at Emmett Mullins is 25% strike rate. He's 2 from 8. Brian Hayes is 6%, 1 from 18. That's not necessarily all that great, but I just think 13-2 at that sort of a price, definitely well worth in each way. I know it's on the drift massively, but I'm going to stick the nail to the sword and say that Millie in the Middle has the best overall form and should take plenty of stopping. 5 o'clock. Oh, Jesus. This horse has been a massive, massive cliff horse for me since that win in Clonmel, because he ended up winning me, I think, close to 200 quid. I had a tenner on him each way at big prices, but marshalled 7-2. Do you know what? I'm going to stick with him, and I'm going to stick by him, and I'm just going to say we'll give him one last chance. He's been second on his last 2 occasions. Both of those, my God, like both of those look like he had the race in the bag, looked like he was going to win by a comfortable margin and just get nabbed on the line. Now, the time before that was third in no, it wasn't Nace, it was Navan. That particular day. Now, Mark Walsh was going on a 4 or 5 or 6 time or whatever it was. He was after having an incredible day in Navan that particular day. Came into the race absolutely beautifully on Marshall, was sitting pretty coming in around the third last, hit that like a train, completely knocked about 3 or 4 lengths off in that day. Managed to stay on for third, but the second or third last fence lost it for him that particular day. This Marshall needs to jump an awful lot better. He needs to jump with more accuracy, more fluency, and if he does that, he's going to be a very, very hard horse to stop. He needs to show that he's going to handle the ground as well. His best is on soft to heavy or soft to yield and whatever it is, any sort of soft in the ground at all. It's going to be good tomorrow. I don't know whether he's going to appreciate the good ground, but I'm going to give him one last chance, and I'm just going to say, look, do it for me, and hopefully, look, we're going to be on the back of a winner with this Marshall. I'm not going to give up on him just yet, but my patience is starting to run a little bit thin with him. He's just starting to throw the dummy out of the pram now, and I'm not really liking it. Last race of the day, and this one here is going to be another fairly big price. Just trying to find them here now. What's My Name? For Patrick Neville and Gary Noonan, currently priced at 16-1. Look, it's interesting. An awful lot of these horses in here are flatbred horses. Now, flatbred horses generally would be fairly well lit up. They'd go at a fairly good lick, and they generally die off come maybe the 1.5 to 1.6 furlongs, in around that sort of position. But this one here has stamina bred, coming from Gary or Patrick Neville, close enough to Killarney, in around that direction. I'm sure that they'd love to have a Killarney winner. There's no doubt about it. Gary Noonan as well. I'm nearly certain Gary Noonan is from around that direction as well. Now, I could be totally wrong. I know he does most of his work for Patrick Neville as well, but look, I'm going to say have an each way on him. I think Judical Law looks to be the real. Look, it looks to be the more likelier winner, but 11-10, I would be taking them on. And I just think that this 4-year-old Geldon by, who is he by? Famous name out of Nadim Stella, a definite article horse. Look, it's interesting. It's got stamina in the pedigree, will appreciate 2 miles, and look at who knows, could be a Killarney winner. Local enough man and local enough jockey, I think. And look at, hopefully they do the business now tomorrow. But look, I'm going to leave it there. Please make sure to keep liking, sharing, and subscribing. We're getting very, very close to the 500 mark. We're I suppose the grain of rice is starting to tip the scales closer to the 500 mark than the 400 now. So we're really starting to make inroads now, and we're really starting to get to where we want to be. But you need to just hit that subscribe button. If you're looking at this and I'm after getting you a few winners in the past, now I know, forget about Tipperary, but if I'm after getting you a few winners in the past, just hit that button, please. It really does help me out. If you want to be a little bit more generous, we do have like a premium service as well. It's €10 a month, but what that gets you is like it gets you for the rest of the month. You get entered into all the monthly draws. Now, unfortunately, May's monthly draw is over and done with now, but we do have some great prizes. We gave away a share and a horse there this month. we gave away plenty of nice prizes. I think the overall sum of money in the prizes over the past 6 months accumulate to over between 450 500 quid. Probably closer to the 450 mark, but it's over 450 in less than 500, let's just say. We really do give back a serious amount into the members that do help us out big time. That basically funds the Irish Racing Hour podcast, which I'm one half of. Used to be 1/3 of, but we sadly lost Dean Hegarty just because he wanted to take a bit of a break. But it just basically goes into funding different things like that. We're going to start looking into doing maybe stable visits, all these sorts of things. Now that the country is starting to open up a little bit more and try and get a little bit more, let's just say, awareness into what goes on behind the scenes in Irish racing, and open up the eyes and open up, I suppose, the realization that not every horse just goes to no horse just gets loaded up and goes to the track, and nobody does a bit of work in racing. Like, we want to show that everyone puts in a serious graft and puts in some serious work. But look, I'm going to leave it there. Best of luck tomorrow if you're going to be having a bet. Hopefully we're on a few big price winners. Jesus, if the 66-1 winner, or if the 66 comes on winner, if the 66-1 comes in as a winner, I don't think you're going to see me for a week. That's one thing for certain. But look at, we'll live and hope and pray. But until then, the very best of luck, and hopefully we have the winners all lined up.